Love that. And Sanza, just so people can get a bit of a background about you. So you're originally from Eswatini, right? But
Yeah.
I think your mom is from the Northwest, but you grew up in Soweto. So your
Yeah.
upbringing, I feel like you had such a dynamic upbringing, and it was also at like a very interesting time in South African history, right? So can you share a little bit about that, about growing up near like all the different places you grew up near, just the experience that you had that you feel have made you who you are today?
Gladly. My paternal side is from Swaziland. My maternal grandmother is from the Northwest, and the Molites, the Nchwes, and the Faguzes. And then my grandmother married into the Shabalalas. So both my granddads are Swatis, the Faguzes and the Shabalalas. And I grew up in Jabulani, in Soweto, and I went to school in Dube. And I grew up in the 80s of Soweto, so the ceiling was quite low. I thought I'll probably have to marry the girl opposite my house. I was planning on coming back to teach at my primary school because those are my formative years, and I think there's a teacher that I liked, whom we used to see on weekends coming out of the shebeen, and it made him human because just to see your teacher coming from drinking on a weekend and then he's still the same guy Monday to Friday. And I just thought, okay, it means there is what was that word? All work and no play makes what a dull boy. I just thought I liked that teacher because we can saw through him. It was a big joke to say, have you seen him stumbling home on a weekend? And for me, it made him human. And I thought, okay, if in case, because it's tough in growing up in Soweto in the 80s, a competition in all spheres, I thought I'll probably just get a teacher's diploma and just be a teacher and be respected in the community and build my grandmother a little house or expand her shop. And marry locally. Everybody wants a beautiful girl in the neighborhood. I thought the one who can carry the water bucket nicely. If she carries water and she's not sloppy, maybe I'll ask my grandmother to talk to her grandmother to arrange something for us. So life was kind of simple. And then Mandela came out of prison. Yeah. I think I was studying high school in 1990, and I started dreaming about going to university. I started thinking there's other worlds out there that are waiting for us. And then I think the dream was deferred. And I then came to live in the city. I never thought I'll co-host a radio show, let alone with a very smart young Ugandan girl born in Brazil. And this, things became beautiful. And I got fond memories of this country from its dark days to its promising days to now when it also seemed like the rainbow has faded. So I carry memory. And and I've always been hopeful. I've always been positive. I've always known my role within society. Just to look around and try and do your best. So that was me growing up and then I came to the city, and I liked living in Kilbro, and then from Kilbro bury me in Hovel. And when I went to Yeovil, I saw the first class of middle class, or the so-called smart blacks, guys just swilling wine glasses, spitting metaphors like this country needs due diligence. I'm like, wow, who was this uncle? They're speaking so well, and I want to be like them. I had forgotten that I wanted to be an Afrikaans teacher, teaching Afrikaans in Soweto, or just being an uncle, and I think everything opened from there. I remember the meetings to start a free-to-air radio station. I was there when YFM started. I'd been working in a film school called Free Films. I made a little video with Yusundo, whom I didn't know who he was. So things just became, I thought I was in the right place at the right time. And when Y came, I remember going to the show with Semiti, I think on the first broadcast in the morning, and me just speaking so fast and fluffing. And then I had my uncle Peter Makurube and Arabi coming and say, no, you're such a smart boy, just tone down and you'll get another show tomorrow. You can't say everything at the same time. And the mentors, and then just that world. And I've since become like the memory and somehow one of the veins in the heart of this city called Johannesburg, and then life in South Africa, and also being black and what it means now globally.
Have you started eating meat, or are you still against the whole meat thing?
Yeah, I was told I'm a vegetarian who always loved breast and thighs or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I went to the shop and I realized they say, okay, these are breast and these are thighs. I'm like, okay, I'll grill these, I'll cook these. I think time has moved. Yeah, I was, coming into the city, becoming a student in the mid-90s in Johannesburg. I think it became very fashionable and very pragmatic to be a vegetarian because meat was expensive. We were just living there were no SASAs then. Student stipend was low. And I think I'd had my first month of burgers and hot dogs and stuff, and I just kind of like miss home, and I wanted to have comfort food. So I remember in my dormitory, I started making pap and spinach, and then we started seeing aunties, you know, in the city. That just every corner there's like a vegetable store, and I just wanted to explore more. It made me somehow miss home on weekends, on Sundays, where all the colors of the garden are there, and I think I slowly moved to that, and then we became Rasta. It was an era of consciousness and health, and also saving money and exploring. Part of the new South Africa also for me was also, I think vegetarianism also came with some of the new South Africa, and that's before it was fashionable, you know. So a lot of ways in living. And then when I started my dinner club, I'd been cooking at galleries. Remember, Lee, I've been cooking for a long time. But it was later when I started hanging too much with bohemians and the tree huggers and the vegans and feeling guilty about all my leather shoes and my belts. I thought I'm probably not a pure vegetarian, even if I don't eat meat at the time, but I had leather other things. I was not sure about, you know, I wanted to save the planet, but I didn't know which animal specifically. So I think I got exposed. Anyway, it was just expanding my dinner club. It had done well as people knowing me as a vegetarian. I just wanted to expand the palette because good views and company. And the whole thing of cancel culture, or maybe like, you know, it felt like we are canceling the meat eaters. And I didn't want that. I want the stories. I love people. So I never smoke cigarettes, but I like hanging out with people who smoke because they seem to be full of stories. I mean, that's historically, you know, so I've always been inclusive. I've always loved people. So I think I bent over a lot, and eventually now I eat a lot of other foods, and also to taste other people's foods and to tell stories, especially when I was venturing into core Pan-African dishes. You can't, in Nigeria, man, the eforiro, you know, it must be like a vegetable soup, but it's made with some fish stock beneath. Yes. And I was just tired of being disappointed or being picky. I thought I would overreact, and then I tasted it and I liked it, but I still try and descale food from how it's layered, from vegan to vegetarian to when you add butter, when you add other elements, and then my spread is actually now full, except I still don't cook pork because it seemed to be also another divisive kind of like ingredient.
Welcome to the Salary Scramble with Lee Kasumba, where glossy titles end and real founder stories begin.